Skybound Transformers is hurting my brain. If you're unfamiliar, Robert Kirkman's Skybound publisher is currently distributing the current run of the Transformers comic book series. And even though, as of this video, issue 15 just came out, my brain is still back at issues 13 and 14. I cannot get over it, and I have been struggling to find a way to describe what's going on in my brain. Specifically with Megatron. This is your only spoiler warning for issues 13 and 14. So just really quickly, issues 13 and 14 are Starscream's backstory. This is the first time we're getting exposed to this in this comic run at all with the reboot of the series. And if you haven't read the comic yet, I'm not going to show you how current readers are familiar with Starscream yet. I'm just going to tell you that this guy right here, who's doting over this little bug, and he's so innocent and just loves life, is what he used to be like. Eventually, the war finds its way to Starscream's peaceful part of Cybertron, and Megatron introduces himself into Starscream's life. And if you're familiar with the original Generation 1 cartoons of Transformers, Megatron's alt mode was a gun. So he was a robot, and then he would turn into a gun, which means he had to be wielded by somebody, okay? He couldn't shoot on his own. He couldn't do anything until after he was Galvatron. He had to be wielded by somebody. And here is the part that's blowing my mind up right now. It isn't outright explained in this comic book, but it appears that whoever is wielding Megatron as the gun no longer has the ability to control themselves. Okay? When Megatron asks Starscream to execute some Autobot prisoners using himself as a gun, Starscream resists. And he is persistent about it. Starscream says, "No, I don't want to do this. I do not want to do this, what you are asking me." This has never been seen before. This has never, ever been seen before in, the 40 years Transformers has been around? Because we've seen some pretty terrible versions of Megatron in the franchise. When you think back to any television series, the IDW comics, the original cartoons, Megatron's tactics on being able to manipulate the people around him have always been with brute force and power, because he is very strong and powerful. Nobody wants to go up against him except Optimus Prime. Or with his mind. He's been very intelligent, he can play mind games with people, and he's very influential as well. But this takes it to a whole nother level, especially when you're looking at just the little box of Starscream and Megatron's dynamic throughout the franchise. Even though their relationship has only just recently been used to tell a message in Transformers Earthspark as well as the IDW comics, Megatron and Starscream's relationship has always been Megatron is the abuser and Starscream is the victim. Why does Megatron having mind control powers now make that dynamic so much worse? Because Megatron is using his mind control powers over and over and over and over again, using Starscream as the tool, even though Megatron is the tool of death himself. I think why I'm so disgusted about this also is because what Megatron is doing is actually, literally changing Starscream's mental stage. Because he goes from being someone who's innocent, who doesn't want to get involved with the war, who doesn't want to kill anyone at all, to eventually becoming someone who's desensitized to killing people in general. Look at his face. Starscream went from this to someone on his own accord without Megatron's manipulation or vicinity, just likes to grab beings and destroy them for fun. This is just so gross and disgusting to me. And I think the reason I feel that way is because I think about people I've come across in the real world who are manipulators and who play mind games and do terrible things in order to destroy other people's innocence just so they can get their way and they can have control over others. It makes them feel powerful. It makes them get the things they need done. And then this is making me think, what if those people who manipulate and control and destroy had legitimate mind control powers? The world would be destroyed. This is the first time we've seen Megatron in action at all in this series. And for whatever happens in the future that Daniel Warren Johnson writes, This version of Megatron makes so much sense, because if Optimus stands up for freedom as the right of all sentient beings, then the perfect antithesis of that is Megatron is just standing for control and domination. Like, I'm trying to imagine, like, where Johnson had to go in his head to write a character like Megatron in this series. And I don't want to.